10-year-old KYRON Horman was excited to go to school and be at the science fair. KYRON was a loving and active child. On June 4, 2010, his stepmother prepared KYRON for the day and dropped him off at school for the science fair. KYRON went missing at Skyline Elementary School in Portland, Oregon. The last person to see him was his stepmother. So where is KYRON? Moreover, what happens to a relationship when the person you marry and trust is the last known to have seen your child? This is episode number 2, The Missing Case of KYRON Horman. Welcome to Key Pieces of Evidence. I am your host, Darlyce. We will look into the missing case of KYRON Horman. Before we begin, Key Pieces of Evidence is a weekly podcast that focuses on true crime mystery and any information that might bring awareness. Anything I say is comprised of my findings from different online sources, which will be linked down below, and of course, my thoughts and opinions. And if I have said anything by mistake or left out anything, please kindly let us all know in the comments along with the link to your source. I will only be discussing things that are public information. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at Darlyce. This week, we will be discussing the case of KYRON Horman. This is episode number 2, The Missing Case of KYRON Horman. KYRON Richard Horman was born September 9, 2002 in Portland, Oregon to Desiree Young and Kane Horman. And Kane was an engineer for Intel. Desiree and Kane Horman, however, divorced 8 months into her pregnancy with KYRON, with Desiree citing irreconcilable differences. The two shared custody of KYRON, and he has a nickname, he goes by Kai, until 2004, when Desiree was diagnosed with kidney failure, which required extensive medical intervention, during which Kane took over full custody. Desiree, however, remained active in KYRON's upbringing. So she decided to give the father Kane full custody, inasmuch as she knew that her health issues took a full priority, and she knew she could not give that full attention to him, knowing that she had kidney failure. Now, 3 years after they decided to give Kane full custody, and after the divorce, in 2007, Kane married Terry Moulton, who was a substitute teacher. Kane became romantically involved with Terry, however, in 2001, when he and Desiree were divorcing. So obviously, these two relationships were overlapping. Kane and Terry married in 2007, and in 2008, Terry gave birth to a daughter, Kiera. Meanwhile, KYRON was a student at Skyline Elementary School near Forest Park. Just a few information about Skyline Elementary School. It has a grade school of a B, with their proficiency scores of 60% of reading, 52% of math, and 88% of science. So obviously this school provided lots of resources and opportunities for the children, and they excelled very well, especially in science. On June 4, 2010, KYRON was brought to school by his stepmother, Terry, who was then a stay-at-home mom, while he attended the science fair at the beginning of the school day. Terry stated that she left the school at around 8:45 a.m. and remembered seeing KYRON walking down the hall to his first class. However, he was never seen in his first math class because his math teacher stated that he was absent that day. So whose story is correct? Did Terry actually see him walk into that math class? Now, according to Terry, she stated to the police, indicating that after leaving the school at 8:45 a.m., she ran errands to two of the Fred Meyer grocery stores until about 10:10 a.m. Between then and 11:39 a.m., Terry stated that she drove her daughter around town in an attempt to use the motion of the vehicle to soothe the toddler's earache. Terry then went to a local gym and worked out until about 12:40 p.m. And about 1:21 p.m., she arrived home and posted photos of KYRON at the science fair on Facebook. So for Terry to be a stay-at-home mother, she definitely has a very active life. Now, according to Kane, at 3:30 p.m., he walked their daughter Kiera to the bus stop to meet KYRON. The bus driver informed them that KYRON had not boarded the bus after school and was asked to call the school and ask where he was. He was informed by the school secretary that KYRON hadn't been in school since early that day and had been marked absent. So obviously he was actually at the school at the science fair, but he never stepped foot into any of his actual classes for the day. Realizing that the boy was missing, the secretary then called 911. And I'm guessing at this particular school, because I know in 2010 at schools, if you are not present in school, they normally have an automated machine that calls the house to let you know and notify you that your child is not in school. So after realizing that KYRON was missing, search efforts for KYRON were extensive and primarily focused on a 2-mile radius around Skyline Elementary, as well as the Suave Island approximately 6 miles away. Law enforcement did not disclose their reasons for searching the location, which included a search at the Suave Island Bridge. Because where the school is actually located is around a forestry, water, and also interstate. So they wanted to make sure that he did not end up missing at those particular locations. 5 days later, on June 9, 2010, the Horman family, which is Desiree, Kane, and Terry, they decided that they should go to the media. Now, they were very reluctant, but they did release a statement to the press. On June 12, around 300 trained rescuers were on the ground searching wooded areas near Skyline Elementary. The search for KYRON, which spanned over 10 days, was the largest in Oregon history and included over 1,300 searchers from Oregon, Washington, and California. A reward posted for information leading to the discovery of KYRON, which was initially $25,000, but it expanded to $50,000 in late July 2010. So as we can see, not only did his parents want him to return home safely, but the entire community diligently searched in efforts to find him. In late June 2010, in the midst of the investigation into KYRON's disappearance, Kane Horman was allegedly told by investigators that Terry had offered their landscaper, Rodolfo Sanchez, a lot of money to kill him, her husband. Can you imagine the same month where you do not know where your child is, you are being told by investigators that your landscaper that you had hired was actually being hired to kill you? Now, Sanchez testified in a deposition that Terry approached him to help kill her husband in January 2010, 5 months before KYRON's disappearance. But when Terry's attorney, Stephen Howes, asked if Terry asked him to kill her husband, he said no. The investigators are being told that, in fact, Sanchez was actually supposed to kill Cain in 2010. The lawyer asked him in the deposition. He stated, no, this never happened. So which story is true? Now, the landscaper Sanchez, we learned that the DA told Sanchez and his family that he would be deported if he didn't participate in a sting and testimony. Investigators convinced Sanchez to confront Terry while wearing a wire, but they were unable to obtain any evidence and could not make an arrest. Now we're still in June. KYRON has still not been found. However, with this information that Cain is being told about his wife, Terry, in late June of the 28th, Cain files for divorce and obtains a restraining order against Terry. The divorce was granted, and Terry was eventually granted supervision and visitation with her daughter. Do you blame Cain for wanting to get a divorce so abruptly within the same month that his child is missing? I mean, if someone was planning to end my life, I don't know if that trust could ever be rebuilt again. During this time, Terry failed 2 separate polygraph examinations regarding KYRON's disappearance. Now, we know that polygraph tests are not the most secure because it measures the heartbeat. It's not like a psychic is actually telling you the truth. So it's just the matter of the measurements of your heartbeat. And she, in fact, did fail both of those polygraph tests. Meanwhile, in July of 2010, the next month, a grand jury subpoenaed several friends of Terry Horman, including Dee Dee, whom Cain Horman described as having been in a close communication with Terry and providing Terry with support and advice that is not in the best interest of our son. Just information about Terry's friend Dee Dee. On the day of KYRON's disappearance, Dee Dee abruptly left her work gardening for a homeowner at their residence on Germantown Road in Northwest Portland around 11:30 a.m. and returned around 90 minutes later. Now, around 11:30, if you all remember Terry's alibi, she stated that she was driving around her daughter, KYRON. So, was Terry really driving around her daughter, KYRON? Or was she with Dee Dee when Dee Dee abruptly left her work? Now, Dee Dee also allegedly helped Terry purchase an untraceable cell phone. During this time, Dee Dee told journalists, "There's this horror that my friend is going through." Now, Dee Dee is saying that Terry is going through a tremendous horror. What about Cain and Desiree, who has a missing child and they do not know where they're at? What about KYRON? Where's the empathy for where is KYRON Horman? Dee Dee also states that if she thought for a second that Terry was capable of foul play, I would not have been there. She would have not been my friend. So is Dee Dee a reliable friend or a reliable witness? The next month, in August 2010, it was announced that law enforcement were searching for an individual allegedly seen by 2 witnesses sitting inside Terry's truck outside Skyline Elementary the day of KYRON's disappearance. So did Terry take KYRON instead of leaving him at school. If you notice the map of Skyline Elementary School, his actual first class is directly right beside an exit door. 2 years later, on June 1st, 2012, KYRON's mother, Desiree Young, filed a civil lawsuit against Terry, claiming that she was responsible for the disappearance of KYRON. She did not say that she actually touched him, but that she was responsible. And can you blame the mother, Desiree? She has not had her son come home yet in 2 years. Someone is responsible, and that someone is the last person seen with KYRON. The lawsuit attempted to prove that Terry had kidnapped KYRON on the day he disappeared. So I don't think Desiree filed this lawsuit for money directly. I think she filed this lawsuit just to get some answers out of Terry about what actually happened that day and how was my son mysteriously disappeared in a public, safe atmosphere. However, Young did seek to get $10 million in damages from Terry, the stepmother. The next month, on August 5th, 2012, a federal court judge denied a motion by Terry to delay the lawsuit. So Terry did not want to go through this lawsuit because she would have to be questioned. She tried to delay it, but it was denied. In early October 2012, Dee Dee refused to answer 142 questions during a deposition regarding Desiree's lawsuit. Among these questions were ones regarding Dee Dee's whereabouts on June 4, 2010, and her contact with Terry that day. She also declined to identify a photo of KYRON, whether she had met him before or not, and whether she knew his father came. So Dee Dee, in the beginning of the search, she was very forthcoming in trying to get KYRON home because he was missing. However, 2 years later, during this deposition, she not only declines to answer 142 questions, but she declines to even state whether she even knows who KYRON is, much less her best friend's husband, Kane. During testimony provided by KYRON HORMAN in a separate hearing the same year, he stated that police had told him that they have more probable cause to think Terry Horman was involved in KYRON's disappearance than they did 2 years ago. During the civil lawsuit, the following year, on July 30th, 2013, it was announced that Desiree had dropped the lawsuit against Terry so as not to interfere with the ongoing police investigation. So even though the biological mom dropped the lawsuit, I think it was a good thing that she actually started that process, because maybe this turned the wheel for investigators to pick up their investigation in bringing KYRON home. 3 years later, Terry Horman appeared as a guest on Dr. Phil in 2016, during which she told Dr. Phil, "I was advised from the beginning by law enforcement, by my husband at the time, by attorneys in the beginning, not to say anything. I've always wanted to. I've asked multiple times to speak out and have not been allowed." So on Dr. Phil, she pretty much plays the blame game. She deflects. Her demeanor on the show is very questionable, and she's not that forthcoming. She denies having any involvement in KYRON's disappearance and also stated her belief that he was kidnapped, adding there was a man in a white pickup truck, Ford, parked on Highway 30 at the 7-Eleven near the school. He was acting very strangely, and he was addressed by one of the employees because he had been pacing back and forth in front of the 7-Eleven for about an hour. Now, if she had known of this suspicious behavior, why didn't she report it when KYRON went missing? Moreover, why didn't she call the school to let them know of this suspicious behavior? In her alibi, she stated that she went to 2 Fred Meyer grocery stores. So how did she have time to notice someone pacing up and down for an hour at a 7-Eleven? The same year, after appearing on Dr. Phil, in 2016, Terry was arrested after she stole a gun from her roommate. Later that year, she was arrested again for driving a stolen car. So she commits these multiple petty crimes. However, does these petty crimes link to her having anything to do with KYRON being missing? A couple more information about Terry. She was involved in a 1990 murder for hire plot, which is still under investigation and has not been charged. In 2017, it was learned that the county sheriff's office was conducting ground searches and a new computer evidence in KYRON's case, but he is still yet to be found. So we still do not know where KYRON is located. However, thanks to KYRON's parents, his story continues to be told. And I also think thanks to social media, not only does his sweet little smile still continue to be current and relevant, but his story continues to be told as well. His biological mother, Desiree, has created a Facebook page called Missing KYRON Horman. A couple statistics. According to in the United States alone, a child goes missing every 40 seconds, resulting to nearly 800,000 missing children a year. Now, there are 3 distinctive types of kidnapping. The first is the family kidnapping. Would you believe that 49% of kidnappings occurs in the home? The second is acquaintance kidnapping, where they know of the child. They might not be related to them, but they know of them. And that's 27% of the kidnappings. And then you have the stranger kidnapping, which is 24%. So let's start a hashtag called Find KYRON. If you have information about KYRON's disappearance, please call 911 or the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office at 503-823-3333. If you have any comments, please write them down below. I hope I brought awareness to the missing case of KYRON Horman. Make sure you like, comment, and respond. I hope you enjoyed episode number 2, The Missing Case of KYRON Horman. Until next time.